Medium format. Let's talk about it. That's right, kids, I'm moving up in the world. Over the course of this channel, you've seen me tease a couple different 120 cameras, but none of these cameras have actually ever been mine. But that didn't really stop me from shooting them, or at least trying. The bug bit me, and it bit me good. And every time I shot with one of these higher quality cameras, I felt a medium-sized format hole growing bigger in my heart, and I needed to fill it. Don't be gross. And that brought me to the Pentax 6.7. I've owned this camera for a little bit over a month now, and I have to say it's one of the better decisions I've ever made on this analog journey. So I thought I'd give you my initial thoughts, because no one's ever done a video about this camera before. It's kind of weird, right? So we'll go over my first impressions, portability, image quality, and also some of the first images I made on this camera. So if that sounds like a slapping good time, then you're in the right place, because the shutter on this thing, the slap of it, is kind of the whole reason you buy the camera. So like I said, I haven't really owned this camera for that long, but it is something that I've lusted after for a long time. I think we all have that list of maybe one-day cameras in our phone or even our eBay watch list, but to actually be holding something that you've lusted after for so long is kind of surreal. So the first thing I noticed about this camera is the weight. And it didn't bug me as much as the internet had led me to believe, but I gotta be honest, this thing is heavy. It's a beast. You've heard the rumors, and they're all true. I've actually opted to switch this out with the bat under my bed. The best way to think of this is like an oversized SLR, because that's exactly what it is. But just like my Nikon F2, which resembles the first Pokemon evolution of a Pentax, you can remove the prism eyepiece if that's more your style to do a top-down shoot, some waist-level action. Just make sure you remove the lens before doing so, or you risk damaging the aperture coupling chain that couples to an indexed sliding ring located under the body's mount ring. Unlike a Bronica or a Hasselblad where the weight is evenly distributed throughout the body and the lens, this is a very forward-heavy camera. The Pentax is really determined by what kind of glass you have in front of it. So in my case, the 90mm, it's not too bad. This is one of the better lenses, and it's actually not that heavy. I've heard some pretty terrible things about the 55. I'd shot with my buddy Chris's 6x7 just a few weeks prior to this splurge, and fell in love with it almost immediately. And I mean, who wouldn't with that famous 105? The model I purchased, however, is actually the second generation, the 6.7, aka the middle child. The original design of the 6x7 was released in 1969. But only a few years later had a small upgrade that offered a mirror lockup feature to assist with that slappy McSlapperson of a mirror mechanism. This addition helped contain and improve image sharpness when dealing in slower shutter speeds. Then in 1989, the camera was updated and renamed the 6.7, removing the X and replacing it with a new shutter and internal meter prism. And the camera is more or less the same other than those few upgrades and the slight change to the logo up here, but for the most part, the camera is the same, just a little newer. I'm not really sure that I like the design better, but it also doesn't bother me. What matters on this camera is the lens and the quality of images you're getting out of it. With the final rendition of the camera, the 6.7 II, completely overhauling the camera from the ground up and ran through production all the way up until 2009. So honestly, quite a long life cycle for this camera and the other cameras that came after it. Every lens will work in this lineup, spanning over 40 years of different design. The shiny new bells and whistles of a 6.7 II are definitely enticing if you have the money, but the affordability of this was so much more worth it for me. All things considered and how renowned these lenses are, this camera really wasn't that expensive for what you're getting compared to other more hyped cameras of the similar quality. Because that's really where the Pentax shines, the undeniable image quality. Now keep in mind with medium format cameras, the number associated with the name, in this case 6.7, is usually going to attribute to how many shots you get per roll. My buddy Alex, who shoots with a Bronica, which shoots in a 6x6 aspect ratio, means that his images are in a square format and take up less space on the negative. So when you're looking at a roll of 120, he gets about 12 shots per roll. When you look at something like the 6.7, which is a little wider, you're gonna get less shots, in this case 10 shots per roll. It's honestly a welcome change for me to slow down and really think about, do I need this shot? I usually have a 35 with me for those in-between shots, but having a camera that only has 10 pictures to really capture either a space, a feeling, or a moment of light is not only humbling, but kind of really fun creatively. And the extra bits of detail you're gonna get on those negatives compared to something on 35 is really eye-opening. I zoom in on some of my pictures and I'm just like, how the It not only makes me feel good about the pictures I've taken, but it actually makes me feel like they were worth taking. And it's crazy to me because the camera isn't necessarily doing anything that crazy from any other camera similar to it. The light meter is for not that I'd use it anyway, but it does kind of lean a little dark, so I'm usually metering anyway. But the true magic of these cameras really comes from the glass quality of the lenses. I've shot now with the 105 and the 90, and I gotta tell you, these are some of my favorite lenses I've ever used. In the near future, I'd probably be looking into getting a 105 of my own and maybe even a 75mm to really round out my kit. But when I purchased this camera secondhand, I knew that the 90mm was gonna be more than enough for my needs. Because I mean, what, that roughly breaks down to a 45mm lens? So it's kind of what you're already used to, and it is kind of the way your eye sees everything anyway. The 105 is a little bit tighter than you would want it to be at times, but it's absolutely perfect for portraits. So why don't we take it out and see how it looks? Hey, I'm out here now. Isn't it weird I used to shoot my videos out here? What a strange idea. So before we get going on this trip, I just wanted to remind that this is my first time out with this camera. I didn't even know if it fully worked correctly. I thought the best way to do that was to drive 2 hours out of town with Alex. So that way if I got nothing, at least I got to go somewhere. So let's see what we got.
Bro, this is amazing. It's so fun.
Alex and I headed north and tried to see what trouble we could find ourselves in. But mostly just to see if the camera was working properly.
Oh my god, look at this.
I told you that slap was satisfying.
Clouds look so good right there. Hey.
We both started off with a roll of Portra 160 as the sun was already pretty high for this early morning.
This is so hard to do.
Which made for really bright subject matter that I knew would lend itself really well to this stock, especially if I overexposed it by half a stop.
How'd you get so tall? Huh. Easy. What? Huh?
Actually far enough for this shot. Sounds so good.
Got it. Oh, Lord.
What does that mean?
That's Drake.
I took 2 images of this same idea, and I'm not really sure which one I like better. Maybe neither of them.
Got it.
Same settings, just because that white's so reflective. How about clouds are happening? Oh, that's cool over here.
Which one? Oh.
This image isn't half bad. I like the layering and overall depth you're getting between the light and dirt paths that seem to contrast the directness of the vanishing point in the mission. But it's not the best picture I've ever taken. Thumbnail. When the first roll was finished, I popped in some Gold 200, not only to save a few bucks, but to see the difference the colors shifted with the warmer nature of this stock among the richness of the mission grounds and the places we were going today. Plus, for the price, gold is an absolute cheat code.
There we go.
If only we could petition Kodak to bring Color Plus to 120. That would make me so happy.
This is beautiful though.
Yo. I like this shot. Alex says it looks kind of like a metalcore album from 2009, and I can't really argue with him. But the impact of the lighting is something I was really proud of considering this was handheld. That mirror slap is no joke, and if you're careless, might lend itself to some blurry images and lower shutter speeds. I do have the mirror lockup, but I don't think I used it for this trip at all. Why take a picture of a normal bathroom when you can take a picture of this? scared it. You're too loud.
Drive.
Further down the road, we were met with an unbelievable location, an old abandoned drive-in that I knew we had to stop and photograph.
Landscape and buildings. Oh, private property over there. It is, yeah. Okay, so we'll park like right here, maybe.
It's true this spot would have probably lent itself differently in warmer, moodier lighting at the late end of the day, but we were stoked and constantly inspired to get out, so we just kind of made the best of it. Despite not having a grip yet for this camera, and by association no way to attach a strap, I didn't really find myself slowing down too much from capturing what I wanted. And when you look side by side to some of the pictures I took on 35, you can really tell the difference in quality when it comes to this camera and these lenses.
You guys get Will to 2,000 followers or subscribers?
No.
I'm giving away this camera.
No, you're not. After the roll of gold, I did something risky, and honestly a little dangerous. I popped in some Epikrome. Because why not literally try every stock of film today? At some point we ended up at this touristy town called Solvang that we both originally thought might lend itself to some interesting images, but it honestly just wasn't the vibe. I'm sure if we had been there for a German pastry or something, it would have been perfect, but instead we just kept following down an unwelcomed road and we weren't even sure it led anywhere. I think it's part of the hotel. I found a shot. I love this last shot on the roll. In hindsight, maybe I should have gone with a higher f-stop to capture more of the depth of this image, but it actually makes a really nice bookend to the first shot that I took on this trip. Both have a similar idea, but a completely different approach that kind of both really highlight the capabilities of this camera and what I was focused on the longer the day went. So would I recommend you pick up a Pentax 6.7? Absolutely yes. Tools are there to help you inspire, no matter how old they are or less clout they're giving. If you're thinking of picking one up, just make sure to have a real honest conversation with the buyer about what you're getting, ask about the integrity of the chain, and maybe go with a lens that is less sought after like I did to help keep costs down. And when you're finally satisfied, ask them for a hug, because you know what? You just joined the medium format family. Thank you guys for watching, and I guess do the like and subscribe thing because YouTube doesn't care about these videos unless you do that engagement. So I really appreciate you, and I'm gonna go throw up.